In the closing chapter of a turbulent trade saga, former U.S. President Donald Trump moved to impose sweeping tariffs on a wide range of imported goods, reviving his long-held America First doctrine. The move was framed as an effort to reclaim U.S. economic independence and reduce reliance on global institutions. Yet, the decision triggered immediate controversy at home and abroad, rattling critical trade partners and raising serious questions about America's long-term leadership role in the world economy. But in a stunning and historic twist, the United States Supreme Court stepped in, issuing a decisive ruling that struck down the tariffs. The court emphasized a fundamental principle: no office, not even the presidency, is above the law. This intervention marked one of the most dramatic showdowns between the executive and judicial branches in modern U.S. history. As the decision was read, the justices underscored the importance of the constitutional separation of powers and reaffirmed Congress's central authority in shaping trade policy. The ruling sent shockwaves through financial markets across Wall Street, Brussels, Beijing, and beyond. Stock prices, commodity futures, and currencies reacted violently as investors, businesses, and policymakers scrambled to adjust to the new legal reality. Soybean futures soared on hopes that agricultural tariffs might be avoided, while industrial metals tumbled as fears of protectionism briefly receded. At the heart of the court's decision lay a critical interpretation of the 1974 Trade Act, a law that grants the president certain emergency powers in matters of trade, but makes it clear that Congress alone retains authority over permanent trade policy. According to the court, Trump had exceeded his legal authority. His tariffs were not tied to any immediate national security threat, but instead applied broadly and indiscriminately to long-standing U.S. trade partners. Without congressional authorization, such sweeping measures could not stand. The ruling was not just about trade, it was about checks and balances. The court made it clear that major economic decisions demand collaboration between the president and Congress, not the will of one office acting unilaterally. In Washington, lawmakers quickly seized on the ruling as an opportunity to reshape the rules of trade authority. Bipartisan coalitions began drafting legislation to set clearer boundaries on presidential powers. Some senators proposed new resolutions requiring congressional approval for any tariffs above a certain threshold. Others floated automatic review mechanisms to ensure that sudden trade actions could not upend global markets without legislative oversight. Globally, reactions varied. In Beijing, officials cautiously welcomed the ruling, presenting it as a win for multilateralism and the international rules-based order. European leaders, who had been angered by their inclusion on the tariff list, expressed relief and signaled a willingness to re-engage with Washington. But emerging economies were more cautious, fearing that the ruling underscored the growing unpredictability of U.S. trade policy. Inside the U.S., the response from industries was mixed but largely optimistic. Manufacturing executives who had delayed plant expansions in fear of tariffs expressed relief. Farmers and agricultural exporters, particularly those in the soybean and pork industries, hailed the ruling as a lifeline. Yet uncertainty lingered. Many worried about future legal battles and policy reversals. Legal scholars praised the court for reinforcing constitutional boundaries, comparing the ruling to past landmark cases that curbed presidential powers in foreign affairs and national security. They argued that this decision would set precedent for future administrations, ensuring that trade actions would be subject to stricter legal scrutiny. Advocacy groups echoed this sentiment. Labor unions emphasized that workers often suffer most under sudden trade shocks, while environmentalists argued that greater congressional involvement could lead to stronger ecological protections in trade agreements. Of course, not everyone agreed. Trump's allies blasted the decision as an overreach by the judiciary. White House officials warned that limiting presidential flexibility could weaken America's ability to counter unfair trade practices, embolden foreign rivals, and undermine U.S. leadership on the global stage. Beyond the immediate political battle, the decision reshaped debates at institutions like the World Trade Organization. Many saw the ruling as an opportunity to restore faith in global cooperation, though doubts remained about whether the U.S. would continue bypassing multilateral systems in the future. Meanwhile, the ruling had tangible consequences on the ground. Farmers, factory owners, logistics operators, and shipping companies all scrambled to adjust their plans. Some businesses that had stockpiled goods in anticipation of tariffs were left uncertain about whether to release inventory or hold it back. For many, the case served as a reminder that trade decisions ripple far beyond Washington, affecting supply chains, jobs, and communities. Culturally, the ruling ignited a deeper debate. Should trade policy be viewed as an urgent tool of presidential power, or as a collaborative process reflecting the voices of Congress and the American people?